Hey, this is Jeanette with QB Winery Solutions, and it's time for the annual Silicon Valley Bank State of the Wine Industry Survey. The survey is now open, and you must upload your responses by October 27th. This should only take you 15 to 20 minutes to fill out, so just take a pause from Crush, pour a glass of wine or beer, as the case may be, and let's dive in. Now, most of the questions are subjective, but there are 6 that ask for financial information, so I'm going to walk you through how to pull those reports up in QuickBooks. But first, what you're going to want to do is follow the link that I've given you, which will bring you to this page right here. And from the homepage for the survey, download the guide, which are the questions that they ask. You're going to want to read through the guide, answer the questions, and then submit the responses. Your file is set up using our Fundamental 5 system, these reports are going to go really quickly. If you haven't set up your file using our system, hopefully you can get some pointers on how to run the reports. So the first question is, what is your annual case production? We define this to be how many cases of wine do you bottle every year. So to do that, we're going to run the purchases by item summary report. And we can do this because we use a bottle run check to record all the bottle runs. Now, I suggest that you use the dates for 2024 because 25 is not complete yet. Or you could use 2025 and add what you still intend to bottle for the rest of the year. But in any case, you're going to go last fiscal year, so January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Now, my data is in 2018, so I got to flip to 2018. And so I have a total of 36,817 bottles. The units of measure in my file are bottles, so I need to divide that by 12, which gets me 3,068. Now the next question is, what is your annual cases sold? And again, this is a straightforward question in QuickBooks. We're going to go reports, sales by item summary. Now, since we haven't completed a year, what we're going to want to do is pull the most recent 12 months. So that's going to be 10/01/24 to 09/30/25. Those are the dates you're going to pull up. But again, because my file has older dates, I'm going to go like that. Now, the other thing, and this is very important, is you need to filter class. So I'm going to scroll down here to find class. I'm going to pick multiple classes. I'm going to pick all of my sales channels. I'm going to skip other. For our recommendation is that random sales that are not part of your normal sales, especially friends and family sales, or maybe you had some wine that you sold to Bounty Hunter that you just needed to move, we put those in other because we don't want them mixed up into our normal regular sales channels. Plus, and also you want to exclude depletions. So you're going to go okay, and we go okay, and here's our wine, and we come down to 30,595. Divide that by 12, gets me 2,549 cases of wine was our annual cases sold in the last 12 months. The next question is, estimate the average suggested retail per 750 in 2025. So we're going to stick with this report here. We've already got the date set up correctly. I'm going to go back to customize. And for this, we only want the tasting room class. So I'm going to just remove that filter, but then I'm going to add it back on. I want multiple classes. And in this file, for various reasons, these 2 classes are our tasting room class. And here we can see the average price is $25.23. Multiply that by 12 to get $301 a case. Now you can see that you've got quite a range of cases. We've got rosé averaging $17.78 versus some reserve bottlings at $44. So this is a weighted average, which means it takes into consideration the wines that you're selling the most. And again, you will know better whether or not you're actually discounting in the tasting room. I'm finding that most people are not discounting in the tasting room any longer. Okay, the next questions are pretty straightforward. And this one, question 7, this again is a straightforward question for us to answer with our Fundamental 5 system. For that, we're going to go reports, custom reports, summary, and again, we want the most recent 12 months, so that's going to be 100124 to 093025, but I am going to flip this to 17 to 18, and we want to display the rows by class. Then we need to come to filters, and for the account, we want only the wine sales account. And in the Fundamental 5 system, we recommend that you have only one wine sales account. And we need to do one more thing. I forgot to put the percentages on. So we want percentage of column. There we go. Oops. And I forgot to eliminate my other and my depletions as well. So I'm going to go back to customize, filter. I'm going to look for my class, all classes, multiple, FOB wholesale, web. And again, I want to eliminate other because that's not normal sales. And we also want to eliminate depletions. There we go. Now in this file, FOB represents distributors. Wholesale is direct to restaurants in California. So the question is asking for a split between a wholesale on-premise and wholesale off-premise. So on-premise, I already have 27%. You would need to know for yourself, what is the typical split? What are your instructions to your distributors? Are your instructions to sell only to on-premise versus off-premise? Let's say this is 50-50. So that'll be 36% divided by 2 is 18%. 18% plus 27 gets me 45. So I've got 45% here. I've got 18% here in off-premise. Nothing for export. My tasting room and visitor center is a combination of point of sale and retail sales. Again, your labels are going to be different. This is going to be 27.7%, so that's going to round up to 28%. My club is 9%. I don't have any of these. I'm not tracking my on-site and off-site events, but we strongly recommend that you do. So hopefully you have those numbers. Also, telesales, we think is an important class if you're doing that. Now, internet and web, we do have some shopping cart sales. Now, if I kept my sample file with current information, I think my shopping cart would be much higher, but this is kind of typical back pre-COVID. But in any case, that rounds up to 0, so I will put a 0 in here. And if you add up all those numbers, you'll get 100%. All right, now the next question is going to be a little sad and frustrating for everybody, but the question is, expressed as a percentage, estimate your sales growth rate for the end of the year 2025 compared to last year 2024. This is going to be a profit and loss report. So we're going to go company and financial, profit and loss standard. I'm going to go customize. And again, we want that 12-month rolling. So it's going to be 100124 to 093025. Okay, those are the dates you're going to put in, but I'm going to plug in my dates, 17 to 18. And I also want to compare to previous period and percent change. Now, it asks for sales growth. My interpretation is this is strictly wine sales. So I'm going to come down here to wine sales. And there's my answer. Sadly, 16% loss. So this answer here is a negative 16%. I've sold in the most recent 12 months $407,000 worth of wine versus $482 the previous year. Hopefully your numbers are not as bad as this. And the last financial question is number 10. When 2025 years complete, our winery will probably say it was which of these choices? Now, unless you already know, unless you already have an answer, if you want to see how it compares, we would run a profit and loss report, but this time we're going to look at all of the expenses. And again, we're going to go customize. We're going to put in our rolling 12 months, and I'm going to compare this to previous period, percent change. And this time we're going to leave all of the expenses, income and expenses. I'm going to collapse the rows so I get a easier picture. And what we can see here is that my total revenue decreased 12%, but at the same time, my expenses decreased 24%. So all in all, I actually ended up with more profit in the most recent year than the previous 12 months. So this was actually an improvement, but it probably took a lot of work to get to this lowered expense number. So you could certainly say this was a challenging year because you had to work so hard to cut back on those expenses. Now, I would caution you, if you sold bulk wine, my recommendation is to exclude bulk wine and bulk wine COGS. Unless selling bulk wine is part of your business model, which for most of the small wineries it's not, it's just something that you have done recently to balance your inventory. Odds are the bulk wine COGS have really thrown off your P&L. So I would subtract bulk wine sales and subtract bulk wine COGS if you're comparing your year end. If you want to backtrack further, you can keep backtracking these numbers, step them back year after year. So you can see that 2017 was worse than 2016. So again, you can use this report as a way to gauge how to answer number 10. My hunch is that most everyone's going to say it was challenging because of having to find different sales channels to replace the tasting room traffic and the club attrition, and also finding ways to decrease your expenses. So those are the financial questions. There's a couple of vineyard questions, but I don't have vineyard numbers in this file. So you should be able to buzz through all of these questions. And then when you're finished, you're going to submit these to this link here, but we can go back there. This is where we started. So you'll just go next on this page, fill in your name, your winery, and keep in mind that when you submit, you're going to get a whole batch of reports that are not published in the regular report. Hit next, and then you're on your way to actually submitting the numbers. So please take the time to submit the survey. The Silicon Valley Bank team has been recognizing the distinction between the big wineries and the small wineries. So these metrics are becoming more and more useful for the small wineries. Good luck. Cheers.